Picture a late night at a Tesla Gigafactory. Everybody has gone home except Elon Musk and a few of his best engineers. They're reviewing prototypes and new designs for the new model they have to launch to put up with the pressure of regulators, clients, and competitors, even after having faced back-to-back setback. Still, their resolve is unwavering. They're still working every day to make sure they keep up with their commitments. They're disciplined, they're consistent, and they're resilient, even though they are going through a situation that Elon's once discussed as chewing glass while looking at the habits. How do they do that? How do elite performers take control of their mental state to always do what they said they were going to do? What is the skill that they have mastered, knowingly or unknowingly, that allows them to stay consistent, disciplined, and in control of their mind at all times? This is a video about that skill. If you master this, your personal growth and peak performance journey is going to be exponentially easier. If you don't master this, it's going to be so much harder. Welcome back. My name is Castillo, founder of Selfmastered, Peak Performance Institute for Founders. We help 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs master themselves so they can scale with peak productivity, focus, discipline, and self-belief. So today's video is about how to really master a core skill that has a wide array of effect in your life. This skill is the cornerstone of real peak performance and productivity. You may be tempted to install a few thousand apps, try Notion, try all sorts of note-taking systems in order to get more done, go to all sorts of therapy in order to become more self-confident, but nothing will work until you finally master this skill that is going, as I said, to level up as across the board. Now, let's first understand, why is it too hard to have control over our minds? Why do we fail to do what we said we were going to do? Well, if you think about it, it couldn't be otherwise, because the mind has evolved from hundreds of thousands of evolutionary pressure in an environment that is not long the one we live in. In other words, there's very little difference in terms of genetics between a prehistorical hominid and us. And therefore, the natural behavioral tendencies that we have been nurturing over hundreds of thousands of years are mismatched with the current environment. We have two inbuilt mechanisms in the mind: seek pleasure or avoid pain. But these days, what we catalog as pain oftentimes really is the path for growth, and what we catalog subconsciously as pleasure really is a trap that gets us stuck. So we cannot rely on our natural pre-built inclinations. We need to stop ourselves every time we're faced with a choice and understand, how does that specific choice affect us in the short, in the medium, and in the long term. And this is something that is too hard for most people because they haven't mastered the skill that I'm about to share with you. Once you get good at this, you automatically run a situation analysis every time you're tempted with one of these situations. So you need to make a decision, or you have some sort of habit that you're willing to start doing, and you gravitate towards the best choice. And that skill is what I call strategic detachment. See, if you think about it, at all times, you have all sorts of automatic thoughts and emotions that are running in the background of your mind. And every one of these thoughts and emotions are automatic. You don't necessarily choose them. Even though you may be prompted to think about specific, let's say, car, there's one specific car that will come to mind, which would probably be the last one that you saw. That's why I always say that if you really want to become an elite performer and master your performance, you must understand that your mind needs training. Otherwise, you will never gravitate towards doing the hard things with a smile in your face. This skill of systematic detachment is used to manage these natural inbuilt inclinations of your mind towards pleasure and avoiding pain, and allows you to take a step back from those urges and analyze them dispassionately to try to understand if they make sense or not for the current trajectory of your life. So let's say that I have decided to do something that I am not good at, Well, typically the mind will start coming from all sorts of reasons of why I don't really need to do that thing, why it's not that important, why it's not the right moment, which will result in self-sabotage, distractions, and procrastination. And that's not because I don't consciously decide to do the task, but often that I subconsciously sabotage my conscious decision of doing the task. And this is why getting yourself a little bit of distance from that mental chatter is so useful, because you can identify the content of your mind, what psychologists call understanding yourself as context, not content, and make the decisions you need to make. So if I am committed on doing something and I see myself procrastinating, I see myself getting distracted, I can stop, pause, accept that craving. I understand that that is effectively going on in my mind, but I have a choice. I can choose whether I pay attention to the thought of distraction or I keep directing my attention to the initial thought that I decided on doing. Over time, as you get good at this, you will naturally gravitate out of distractive thoughts and into the thoughts that you initially committed to. And now we have, because there's research that proves that there's a circular relationship between thoughts and the neural networks that produce those thoughts. What does that mean? It means that the more you think about a specific thought, the more often that thought will pop up in your mind, because the more myelin, the better insulated the neurological connections will be that produce that thought. So this is massive, because if you stop paying attention to the things you know are not useful to you, and you always pay attention to the things that are useful to you, guess what? Over time, you have less distracting and unuseful thoughts popping into your mind and more useful thoughts that you can wholeheartedly believe in order to move towards where you want to go. And strategic detachment is the way of mastering that skill. Now, but how do you learn it? Well, there's a very specific protocol that you can use that I do every single day that helps me hone this skill. But before I share it, if you're seeing any value from the video, consider like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on any of the juicy videos published every single week. So the way to train systematic detachment is through mindfulness and meditation. So mindfulness is the skill of paying attention to your mind, to how your mind is doing all the things that it does, right? What contents are in your mind, the thoughts, the emotions, and where do they come from, without necessarily doing anything with it. So being mindful about your mind is realizing that you have a mind that is not you, that it has a lot of activity that you cannot control, and get okay with that being a fact. This is the first step towards systematic detachment, because once you realize that those thoughts are not you, that you can be thinking a lot of terrible things that are not true at all and do not need to affect your emotional state, you are already in the possession of a knowledge that allows you to eventually make effective decisions. And then what really trains this is meditation, because meditation is one step further than mindfulness. Meditation is the act of not doing anything so that you can pay attention to the mind, and every time you get distracted, you center yourself into some sort of anchor, which can be your breath, it can be a mantra, it can be anything, right? Anything, doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you understand meditation as a mental training that consists on redirecting your attention towards a specific focal point of your choosing. The better you become at being mindful about the things that you are doing and how your mind is reacting to those, but also the better you become at meditating, the more equipped you'll be to deploy systematic detachment every single day. So when you decide on doing something and your mind is coming at you saying, I'm too tired, it's not the right time, I don't need to do that right now, and you are tempted to self-sabotage, you can stop that and let it go. The more you stop it and you let it go, the less of that thought you will have in the future. And this is a core skill of all elite performers. Elite athletes on the Olympic finals, they must have mastered this systematic detachment skill, because they also get negative thoughts about what could happen in the Olympics, whether they're going to win or not, whether they're going to get injured or not. They're human. We all get those thoughts. But the best of the best are able precisely to not pay attention to the thoughts that are not useful. And this is what allows Elon Musk and other elite entrepreneurs to consistently push through the resistance and stay committed, resilient, and disciplined, irrespectively of what happened on the outside, because they have full control of what happens on the inside. They have mastered their ability to discern what needs to be done and then doing it. And the skill that is foundational for this is called systematic detachment. So train your mindfulness, train your meditation, take this seriously, because chances are that your business is not growing because you haven't yet become the person that deserves to grow that business. And this probably is because you don't have full control of your mind, because you're not doing enough work that needs to be done, because you're not making decisions that you know need to be made, because you're not doing the things that you committed on doing. So the hard work is not the solution. It's literally training the mind to do what you said you were going to do through systematic detachment. If you want to go deeper into how to really train yourself for peak performance, this video is going to be very helpful. See you in the next video.